Because as we all know, elections matter. And when folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about something Jen Psaki said that I 100% agree with. Now, normally, whenever Jen Psaki or Joe Biden or anybody from the Biden administration speaks, I'm putting my ears on mute. I'm not going to listen at all because most of what they say is not true. It's over-exaggerated, fabricated. It's just not a thing I have any interest in hearing. But just the other day, she said something that I can't deny. Nobody can deny it. She said, in part at least, we should not be so dependent upon Russian and or foreign oil. How can anybody disagree with that? Why is that a thing that would be ridiculed as false? It can't be. The more we rely upon foreign oil, the more leverage they have over us and the rest of the world. How are you going to try to cancel Russia or anybody else when you got about oil and gas and everything else from them? Okay, they got you in their pocket. What are you going to do? You have no choice other than to fall back when they do certain things that you might not like, because you need that business relationship to continue on. You got to have the oil. You got to have the gas. You got to keep your economy moving. Your people can't be in the cold, shivering to death. They got to have these natural resources. However, there's always a however. Her statement did not end right there, unfortunately. I was going to, give her a nice little award. I was going to give her a nice big cookie and say, you did it, Jen Psaki. You go, girl. Fantastic. But she continued, and that's when it fell apart. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see and hear Jen Psaki's full statement. And after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what she said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
On oil leases, what this actually justifies, in President Biden's view, is the fact that we need to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, on oil in general, and we need to look at other ways of having energy in our country and others. One of the interesting things, George, we've seen over the last week or so is that a number of European countries are recognizing they need to reduce their own reliance on Russian oil.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, Jen Psaki, you were doing okay when you said we shouldn't be dependent upon the foreign oil. The statement should have ended right there. But unfortunately, it didn't. And you had to go on talking about, we shouldn't be relying upon any oil. We should be relying upon, what was it, something about like solar, green energy, renewable energy. That is a fantasy, okay? Would it be great if we can just have the wind blow on our rooftops or on an open field somewhere, and we had endless energy? We could store it, we could ship it, we could sell it. It'd be efficient, all this, that, and the third. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, of course it would. You know what else would be great? If I had $1 million, if I could identify as Bill Gates and have Bill Gates money, if we could power the whole world with fairy dust, that'd be great. Okay, if I can get a toy unicorn and shake his tail out and power the whole world with that, then that'd be fantastic. But see, there's a thing called reality. You have reality and you have fantasy. Fantasy is talking about green energy as some kind of replacement for fossil fuel. It's simply not going to happen. Not anytime soon, not right now. We don't have the technology. It doesn't exist today to make that be the case. We saw what happened in Texas during the winter storm. What was that, last year before last, sometime not that long ago, where the system failed. It totally failed because the wind turbines froze up. Although the wind turbines weren't even the biggest part of the system by any stretch of the imagination, wind turbines were part of the system, part of the energy grid out there in Texas, and they failed. How about on solar panels? If the sun's not shining, you're not getting any energy. If the wind's not blowing, you're not getting energy. If the turbines freeze up from a snowstorm, you're not getting energy. So what are you going to do in the meantime? I mean, you could do nuclear, but they don't want nuclear either because of the waste from nuclear energy. So how are you going to power these things? If the wind is not reliable, and it's inefficient. And speaking about environmentalism, when wind turbines, when the blades on the wind turbine, when those break, when they're no longer operable, they can't really be recycled. They just sit in the landfill, just big for no reason. I'm talking about like the husk of an airplane, just in the field of waste. That is pretty much what the wind turbine does. Okay, so if it's that much of a pollutant and an environmental hazard, think about how much went into it to produce it. What kind of waste you're going to get from the production of a big wind turbine, huh? Same thing with solar panels. I mean, look how much damage you do to the environment. You got to clear out big space, and birds and whatnot are getting killed because it's super hot over top of those panels, and birds fly over it. They're dying. It's a whole big mess environmentally, but to get a little bit of juice from those, that's enough to justify not using fossil fuels anymore. They're closing coal plants over here, which is the dumbest thing in the world. See, one thing about this, you want to shut down Keystone XL, Dakota Access Pipeline, or whatever. When you want to shut those things down in the name of environmentalism, it doesn't make sense to then replace what you were going to get from that, or what you were getting from that, with foreign energy, which is what's happening. If we had the Keystone XL pipeline completed, we wouldn't even need the Russian energy we get right now. The barrels per day that we get from Russia could be replaced almost, if not entirely or more, by Keystone XL being finished. So what's the purpose in stopping that here, but then going overseas to buy it? How is that getting here? Is it getting here through teleportation? Can you email some gas to somebody? No, you got to send it across a boat, across the water. And what if that oil tanker or gas or whatever just happens to spill out right there in the Pacific or the Atlantic? Now you got a really big disaster on your hands versus a pipeline that may have a problem and you can clean it up right there. You could patch it right at the source rather than having the ship dead in the water with oil everywhere, like Exxon Valdez back in the day. So this policy we have of, offshoring energy production makes no sense. That's just for optics, okay? That's like what I said earlier today about they have a State of the Union address tomorrow, and then before the address, like right before, on the eve of the address, they want to roll back the mask mandate. It's for optics because we know the whole world's going to watch, and we don't want to look ridiculous as we would by still wearing masks right now in March, basically 2022, okay? So this whole thing is crazy. Jen Psaki, you were almost right. You were almost right if you had just said, let's stop being reliant upon foreign energy. If you just kept it right there, you'd be right on point. But of course, you had to add in the whole thing about environmentalism and we need green energy, all this, that, and the third. The truth is that we're not right there at this moment. We need that dirty stuff. We need that coal, that shale, gas, oil. We need all of that right now, today. Okay, when you go to the gas pump, you can't put olive oil in your truck. You can't put fairy dust or green energy. Ain't no green energy going in your F-250. Okay, ain't no green energy going in no big rig. You got to have gas. You got to have oil. As simple as that. Okay, pollution is a separate issue. We're talking about pollution. Again, we offshore all that. We offshore energy production. So we can say, oh, we're not producing it here. We want it to be green, but we're still using the same kind of energy. We're just not making it here. We're having a more environmentally destructive, potentially, journey across the water rather than through a simple little pipeline from Canada to the U.S., right? Or vice versa. I hope at a certain point, everyone that is kind of a skeptic and believes in green energy, renewable energy, hopefully everyone is able to see what's happening, right? There's a big grift behind green energy as well. People getting money just because they say, oh, in 10 years or in 1 year, the Earth's going to end. The Earth's going to just crash into the moon and we're going to be a ball of flame, all this, that, and the third. There's a whole big industry behind that. Hopefully you guys see that. The Greta Thunbergs of the world, Al Gore. It's an industry. Not only is it here in the States, it's global. Europe, the whole Paris Climate Accord thing. As I was saying earlier, we offshore all that. So we can adhere to the Paris Climate Accord and not produce a lot of, I guess you would say, dirty things over here in the States, things that pollute the environment. But we just say, all right, China, you pollute your environment over there. So you we offshore pollution, but at the end of the day, it's going up in the sky to the same atmosphere that the entire earth shares. So what's the purpose? Again, it's just face. It's just saying, hey, I didn't do it. We have a beautiful country. We don't do things like that. Meanwhile, we consume all those things that are produced by dirty methods like coal and natural gas and all that kind of good stuff. It's silly, but that's pretty much the way of the Western world, unfortunately. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Jen Psaki said about green energy being the way to go forward? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. Is green energy possible right now? Am I just incorrect? Am I wrong here? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments. You guys pretty much know where I'm at. We don't have technology right now to make green energy be a thing. It's not really a thing. They want to try to push it and talk about, oh, it's the way forward, it's the future. I can't tell. When I go to the gas pump, ain't nothing green going in my tank. Okay, it's that good old dirty gas. That is what we got going on right now. Now, if we get a fairy that pops up from Mars and says, hey, you know what? I could produce fairy dust. You could power everything with that. Then we talk about that. When that bridge is upon us, we cross it at that moment. But the bridge is not here. It's simply not. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.